Hello, everybody. Reed here. We're going to have a very interesting discussion on who? Tupac, right? My first video, this series is about Tupac was an actor, right? And why is that important? The name of my channel is called Reed Matrix. The matrix part is I'm going to try to help you understand all the matrix structures around you. And so that means that there was also a matrix structure around Tupac. Though even though Tupac's not here, we can still examine the matrix structure that was around him. How we look exactly at what he said and how he experienced the world. And when you look through my eyes, you'll be very clear what was going on. Tupac was a beautiful person who had an incredible amount of empathy. He played a character known as Tupac the Gangster, the thug life, right? There was actually a reflection of his lower self, but it wasn't him. It was a reflection of his lower self. He identified with a role that he got locked in. And he got locked in that role because he was traumatized by the real sickos, the real imps, narcissists, the real psychopaths around him. Like many of us, just like you, there's one empathetic person surrounded in darkness, surrounded by a lot of people without empathy. And I think that's what Tupac was. I think that's what happened, right? I recall Tupac in one video saying, we found out the guys who took the man chain and we went to him, we confronted him, we got the chain back. And then we took him and we took his property back to the man and then told them where they can be if we wanted to go and handle them even further. Tupac was trying to establish justice in the jungle. Man, he was trying to establish sometimes he thought that there should be some type of rules to chaos. And none of the people around him would have done anything like that. They would have saw Tupac got his chain snatched and they would just look the other way and they would have went on about their business. Tupac was the only one who would have done that. And he assumed everybody around him was just the same. And that was his mistake. That was his fatal flaw. Tupac didn't understand that he was surrounded by darkness, right? So I was looking at the comments on the video, Tupac is an actor. In this discussion, Tupac is an actor, and I ran across a comment by someone commented on it. Let me just read it here. It's an interesting comment. And for this person, I would like to invite you on the show if you want to have any other comments. You lost, bro. At least do unbiased research on the people you're trying to analyze and put in categories, right? That makes sense. Just off the top, you're saying Pac was raised in middle class home. Let me know you didn't. So he's saying I really didn't know Pac. He's saying Pac didn't grow up in middle class. I think that's what he's saying. Just cause he was granted the opportunity to go to school outside the community doesn't mean that he wasn't raised in the ghetto. Facts. Or didn't grow up in America as a young black man. Hey man, I grew up on the south side of Chicago in the hardest of the ghetto. Tupac didn't have it as bad as we had it back there. Well, we're the same age. Me and we're the same age. He was in New York, I was in Chicago. But that's worse than it is now. That was before the internet. It was hell. The streets of Chicago were hell. Everybody be hanging on the street corners, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm not putting Tupac in any type of category. I'm trying to, my podcast is about narcissism and network. And when that you're in front of that narc, they are presenting themselves in a way that's fooling you. They're going to make you feel that you're all in it together. They're going to make it seem like West Side till we die, right? They're going to make it seem like Thug Life till we die, right? And none of the other ones did anything like that. They weren't going to give them lives to Thug Life. They were not going to give their lives to West Side till we die, right? Because they were real sociopaths. And Tupac was out of place. He was an actor playing the role of a gangster, surrounded, interacting, and having conflicts with real gangsters. And unfortunately, this entertainer, not gangster, unfortunately, this entertainer believed the character he was playing. And he did things that cost him. He did things that gangsters don't do. And so for this gentleman here, I would still like to invite you on the show, but so I was saying that, hey, when you have empathy and insight, these unconscious people around you who damage you on purpose so that you go from your higher self and then you're stuck down in your lower self. And they want to trap you in your lower self because that's where all the volatility is at. And I believe that's what we saw with Tupac. I believe in his early videos, let me just see here. Let me show his earlier videos where he had a lot of, you can see hope in his eyes, right? Yeah, see, here is someone this is a actor, right? He's an actor. Look at his face. Look at his facial expressions. Look at the hope in his face, right? The problem is he began to believe that he was the character. And then he began to act it out when this was who he really was, right? Now, what I'm trying to say here is that he was putting on a performance like a gangster when he really wasn't a gangster. And I'll tell you why. He did nothing that gangsters do, right? He was doing a performance as a gangster. But gangsters don't do what he did, all right? What they do is they damage you. And when they damage you, they bring you down to where they are. And then they try to lock you into that lower self because that's where all the volatility, that's where all the drama is. That's where it's do or die. And when you engage with the world through your lower self, then you have to deal with duality and karma. And unfortunately, that's what happens. He went to a fight where Michael Tyson was the only one being hitting anyone. Michael Tyson was, at the Tyson fight, those two were the only one approved to hit each other. And he got engaged in another fight outside of it. I was watching the video of him stomping the guy and all that stuff, and people don't like that. And he was dead by the time before he got home. Karma, unfortunately, but karma, and that is not him. The man that died is not the man here with hope. Let me hear him see what's happening here.
I have this much respect for women, and I get a lot of friends because I have respect for women, ultra respect for women. But then, like I was liking this girl in Paris, and I'm extra nice, extra gentleman. I'm extra just like, oh, you're beautiful and you deserve the best. And she told me I was too nice. I couldn't believe it.
Okay. Look, do you see how he was engaging with this young lady? Right? He made her feel valuable, right? He made her feel valuable. That's who he is. That's who Tupac really is.
And stab in the back. So I went through a week of just going, forget it, I'm just gonna be like them.
But you know what? He points to what I'm saying. He's given to this young lady with value, and she says she rejects him, says he's too nice, and that he said, I don't understand that. Now he has some preconceived understanding that he is not a part of them. He doesn't understand how they behave that way. Why? Because he has empathy. And the lady that he was showing love, affection, and all this positive, she doesn't. Because if she did have empathy, she would have responded the same way. She would have sent his reflection back to him. She would have mimicked his response and then sent that message back to him. And then that's when he would have known that he is okay. Right? But he sent that message out to her. She stopped that message and sent the wrong message back intentionally. And that is, you're a fool. Right? Listen to his words and understand, he didn't understand how she responded to him. It didn't make any sense. That's because she's one of them. And he says it here. Same thing I said.
To me stab in the back. So I went through a week of just going, forget, extra gentleman. I'm extra just like, oh, you're beautiful and you deserve the best. And she told me I was too nice. I couldn't believe it. That was the ultimate stab in the back. So
the ultimate stab in the back.
Week of just going, forget it. I'm just gonna be like them, because they seem to get the girls, and they call girls the B word. Bitches ain't shit. We don't learn them all.
He has a choice between his higher self and his lower self, right? Yeah, there it is. There it is. Also, if I want to examine this matrix structure around Tupac at this point, Tupac is after the goal. He wants the women, right? So he needs to adopt a role in order to gain access to the women. So he needs to play a role in order to gain access to women. That's what he just said right there, right? Don't believe me? Listen to what he said again. Let me just see here. And let me see, what are your thoughts here? So he's recognizing, he's switching from his world, and then he's going to enter theirs. When he enters there, he's going to enter as Tupac, right? The character. Why? And it really wasn't him. And I tell you why he wasn't a gangster. This was all a performance. That's why I said he was an actor. Listen to him. Listen to this and understand what I'm saying. So your higher self and your lower self, you have a choice. When they damage you, it pushes you to that lower self, and you got to dig your way and work your way back up in order to survive all that, right? So here's this lower self, higher self manifestation here. Check this out.
I have this much respect for women, and I get a lot of friends because I have respect for women, ultra respect for women. But then, like I was liking this girl in town, and I'm extra nice, extra gentleman. I'm extra just like, oh, you're beautiful and you deserve the best. And she told me I was too nice. I couldn't believe it. That was the ultimate stab in the back. So I went through a week of just going, forget it. I'm just gonna be like them, because they seem to get the girls, and they call girls the B word. Bitches ain't shit. We don't learn them hoes, and it's like that.
I think you see what I'm saying. So hopefully I got across the concept, this higher self, lower self. Now, when let me fast forward to the time where he was shot in the elevator, and how he described how he was sure the people around him knew about it, and somehow Puffy was in on it, and Puffy is in the same building, things like that. Let me see if I can find a Tupac. I don't think I'm going to ever find that. No, I don't think I'm going to find it. Tupac, okay, Tupac, oh, young Tupac interview after. Let me see if I. Let me see. Yeah. Yeah, this is all lower self here. Let me see.
When you have a vendor and a
not that one. This one.
You know what I'm saying? It's that situation when you got we are living in a war zone. It's not as easy as these people are making us think that they just got some criminal ass black kids with guns. It is not like that.
Okay, look back how his higher self presented, and look what he's saying now. What he's saying now is simply not true, right? It's not true because we care for him. So we see him hurting, right? And when you look at him from his higher self, him representing his lower self, then this is the only options we have. Of course, you're a multimillionaire. You have more options. You have more options than everybody around. Look.
You know what I'm saying? It's that situation when you got we are living in a war zone.
No, you a multimillionaire now. You don't live in a war zone.
It's easy as these people are making us think that they just got some criminal ass black kids with guns. It is not like that. We live in hell. We live in the gutter. We got us stacked up 80 deep in one building. You know, by the time you get out your house, you strapped to protect yourself because you're living in the same community that the police is carrying rifles and riot gear. They need them right off because it happens out of nothing. It just goes, you know, everybody just be screaming and acting, and I just I get uncomfortable, and it's like similar to a deer being caught in the headlights. I just freeze, you know, and I don't know what to do. I don't know if I should be what they want me to be, or if I should make them hate me so they can stop, you know, like say something mean so they can just stop. But I'm just like caught in the middle of it because you can't. And this whole the anger comes from I'm tired of waiting for my past to get into society. All I ever wanted to do was make me and everybody around me feel more comfortable about where we were. You know what I'm saying? About the places that we stayed. This is our home base. Let's build it up. Let's be happy about where we come from. You know what I'm saying? Instead of trying to assimilate and get a pass key to where they at. You know what I'm saying? Not to say that.
Here, this is an interesting transition point he's at right now because he's talking reasonable. There's some element of his higher. At this point here, if this is 1994, he likely have access to his higher self, and therefore his viewpoint of the world isn't so dogmatic. West Side till we die, right? No. The people on the West Side, all of them are still living. It's not West Side till you die. That was just what you believed at the time. So look at some of the things he's talking about here. So this is 94. Let me see. So here, this Tupac interview in prison, let me see what, him in prison means he's manifested his lower self and he's engaged in ways where society locked him up. And so I think there's some evidence he's been operating his lower self here.
Guilty. Anybody with thug life tattooed on their stomach is guilty.
Sir, will you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Could you please state your full name for the record?
Yes, Tupac Shakur.
Okay. And what is your age and your resident address?
Just turned 24, June 16th. Living in Decatur, Georgia.
Okay. How'd you get interested in music?
I started off with poetry, writing poetry.
Mm-hmm.
But like junior high school.
Now, let me just preface this. Now, this is the artist you're seeing, right? This is not the role of the rapper. There's two different. See, get this. This is the okay. Beyonce is not always Beyonce. I'm sure once you take all the hair off and these all that, I think she's definitely another person. She's the artist that works in profession and practices constantly and rehearse and sings and practice to do behind the scenes to create the illusion of Beyonce. But she's not Beyonce all the time. And so that's the point of what I'm saying, is that here you see the artist, you see the actor, and then you sort of get some you sort of get some insight as to all the things he put together to create the role of Tupac the gangster. And what I'm saying is that he was never a gangster, because even what he did as a gangster isn't what gangsters do, right? He was an actor who manifested his lower self as a gangster, and he got locked into that role because he didn't have insight into those two, and to the differences between walking away from the character or detaching from the character and go back to the audience, go back to the artist, where Tupac the gangster was only one role he should have created. He should have been able, the people around him should have helped him detach from the gangster role, come back as an artist, and recreate something else just as magnificent as Tupac the gangster. And he didn't have the support around him as an artist to say, hey, you have to detach from the role, because you can't go on living your life as if you're a gangster around real gangsters and you're an actor. So here, just look at his facial expressions, his body language, is how he uses his speech and things like that. And then you see a fuller person. When he converted, when he went from his higher self, he has access to all of his capacity, right? Everything that he's developed to at that point, he has acted to all that capacity. But when he shifted down to his lower self in this casted role as Tupac, then he only had access to those narrow cognitive functionings. And that's why he did the same low functioning, unpredictable, highly volatile, highly karma behavior. The original that removed him from the environment. Someone should have helped him with that. And you start to see who he really was here. He wasn't the one on Hit 'Em Up. The one on Hit 'Em Up was a man who was traumatized, and I think with a very severe form of PTSD, surrounded by a bunch of psychopaths.
Yes, junior high school. And poets I saw were like looked on as like rapes. Mm-hmm. So I did that personally, but then I started turning to poetry and see songs. Mm-hmm. And that got more attention. How'd you get into rap? It's in my opinion that I was rapping while I was writing poetry. Okay. And so I was into rap, I guess you could say, from junior high when I wrote my first poem. Mm-hmm. And after I heard on the radio that there were other poets who made records and they were still selling.
Well, okay, look. How many of us wanted to be a poet? I mean, think about that. I mean, the guy wanted to be a poet. Who's being a poet, right? Oh my God. I think his venture into poetry was the best way that he can sort of access his cognitive functioning to be able to create the Tupac. And I think that's the difference between him and all the other real thugs who tried to make it but couldn't. Remember all the other thugs who were really thugs, but then they couldn't get beyond one or two hits. And they certainly weren't the main headliners, right? But this is a poet at his higher self. And then he descended in his lower self in this primitive form and he sort of perverted his poetry when he began to spill these derogatory and very inflammatory and hurtful things about people. threatening to kill people, threatening to shoot people, and things like that. I think he said, my 4-4 make sure all your children don't grow, something like that. That is awful. That's awful. You're saying that to everybody, and then it's going on and on and on and on and on and on. Oh no, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think that's a good. He's lost. He lost. He was so traumatized. He sort of lost. He lost it. He forgot where he was. He should have said, I need to drop this role and I need to pick up a different role.
Working, then I decided to change the.
Also, I'm starting to think that he was such a gifted performer that he got typecasted into Tupac. That he was the type of actor that was so good in that role that no one would have cast him in any type of role that was outside the devaluing and negative things that he was doing as the characters. So I think he was so good, he got typecasted.
The method of my poetry.
How do you define rap? What constitutes rap?
That's just what it is, poetry. To me, it's storytelling, poetry. To music.
Look at those facial expressions right there. Yeah, see, look at him. Don't even look like the same person, right? And look how deep his understanding of poetry is. And how many of you actually had a conversation about poetry? I don't recall anybody ever having a conversation about poetry. And he's really into that. He said he's using rap as an expression of his poetry.
With a beat, with or without music, you can acapella rap.
Okay. But it has some type of beat and tune to it, doesn't it? Even if you don't have accompaniment?
No, even iambic pentameter is rap.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, look at him. He's explaining the technical iambic pentameter. Does anybody know who that is? That's the rhythm of the things like that. And he knows this. He knows the science and he knows the technique. Now, this is him as a writer or as a rapper. But remember, he was also an actor. Right now, these chords are fusing. So he's talking about the technical mechanics of language when he started bringing up words like iambic pentameter. And then he's breaking it down to him, not as if he's Tupac the actor, but he's an instructor trying to teach his craft. So if he had another poet who couldn't get around the roadblock, he said, listen here, the iambic pentameter, and then he can coach him as a technician, not as Tupac the gangster.
You know, it's the way you write it and the structure. It depends on how you write it. But as to whether you need a beat or whatever, I guess it just wouldn't sell that much.
Okay, look, it depends on how you write it, and that determines if you really need a beat. Who would know something like that besides a technician, an engineer, an artist, a musician? Gangsters don't do that. Gangsters wouldn't know it to this extent. This is the real Tupac.
The music is more of a selling tool than it is necessary.
You know, remember when Denzel did Training Day? This is unfortunate. This is unfortunate for him because that's just like Denzel being represented all his life as Training Day. And his images, his pictures, his funeral, everything is Training Day. I would think that Tupac as an artist, I think he was so good. I just think that just imagine Denzel being represented throughout his whole life as Training Day, and he never had the chance to create all of those other type of characters here. I think Tupac was so profound that as soon as he played this role, it was so effective that he was automatically cast in it. And that's all that he can do. And so now you don't see any evidence of this. Or you don't see these parts of him being propagated out there. Like you look at let's say you look at labs like Tom Cruise or something like that, they'll start, you see his interviews, it's about him as an actor and the joys of him as an actor, right? Right. And they don't talk to him like he's the character on Mission Impossible. They talk to him like he's Tom Cruise, the actor, not the characters. Now, whenever people engage with Tupac or talk about Tupac, they talk about him as if he's the actor, not like this. That's the role that he was playing.
Now, you were performing by the time you did your solo album, what people call gangster rap.
No.
You were not?
No.
What would you call what you were performing?
Rap music.
Rap music. Yeah. Have you ever performed gangster rap?
No.
Okay. And why would you say that?
Because I don't know, number one, what gangster rap is. Number two, I don't classify what my music is gangster rap.
Have you heard the term?
This is Tupac separating himself from his lower identity as a role, right? So he's saying, hey, this is poetry. This is a type of poetry, right? Now he's receding in order to protect himself. He's receding. Of course, he's ascending to his higher self, and he's explaining things as a poet and everything. And this is just a type of expression of poetry, and you don't have the right to label it because it's a ghetto gangster rap. And I'm sure he can say, hey, you guys did the same thing in the cowboy movies, right? Same type of violence, but why is this different?
Okay. This next statement that I'm a victim for real. I really got my ass beat. I really don't like police.
I didn't say that. Where you at right there? Oh, I didn't say that. That's not what it says.
Okay.
It says, I'm a victim for real. Everything I talk is for real. I really got my ass beat. I really don't like that. The interviewer wrote police.
Did you mean police?
No.
What did you mean?
I really don't like crooked police.
Okay. So you feel
He's playing chess with her. Look at him. He's playing chess with her. He's playing chess with her. Right?
Other police.
Feel okay?
You like other police. You just don't like
police.
Is that your
police? I like everybody that just does their job. I mean, it depends on, I don't know, personally. If I meet someone that's kind-hearted and that's true and that's fair, then I like them. Especially in a position like that. Somebody is in a position where they have to put their life on the line and they can still be fair to everybody they meet.
Now, notice this. Now, he's showing evidence that he's reflecting his higher self because he's looking outside of his own interests and he's talking about what would be in the best interest of the police officer who engages with him. And so he's showing empathy towards the person, right? He's expressing empathy towards the person. And this says that he's the artist now. Now, inside as his role as Tupac, you either take it or leave it, right? You take it or leave it. It's either this way or F you, right?
Definitely like that. I admire that.
Are you aware of any others who had shot a police?
Now, look, this is the actor. I mean, this is the artist tired after a day's worth of work. You know, doing it. He's tired. He's not playing a role now.
Especially
this is likely what he's like what he was like outside the limelight when he's by himself or with people who really knew him or with his mother, right?
Who shot policemen after listening to your music. After allegedly listening. That's right. After allegedly listening. They said they listened to your music. No. And that's what caused them to do it.
But none of them ever said this until you guys started saying this. So they put it all over the news and had Derek well say that.
I'm asking.
And again, he's defending this as the artist, not as the character.
Where are any others? Not ones I asked. Okay. When did you first start getting fan mail? Remember what year?
No, I don't.
I hear you say that you also receive unfavorable mail.
Yeah, like this. I got a lot of mail from y'all. And
from fans.
No, from y'all, you guys, the lawyers, the lawsuits.
From anybody else? Did you ever receive unfavorable mail?
Out of my whole career, I believe I got 5 pieces of hate mail. Probably like a lot of all of the mail I ever gotten, I've only got about 5 pieces.
Why would you get hate mail if you're playing such a believable character, such a dramatic character? You know, the acting, the dramatism, the style, the rap and things like that. I mean, he was a full package. I mean, he was really good. Let's see.
I'm the religion that, to me, is the realest religion that is. I believe in God.
Okay, so this is an older version of him. I think he does say something interesting here.
I pray to God every night as I pass out. And I think that's, and to me, religion, my idea of religion is this. I think that I got a lot of this in jail because I talked to every God there was in jail. I think that if you take one of the O's out of good, it's God. If you had a D to evil, it's the devil. I think some cool motherfuckers sat down a long time ago and said, let's figure out a way that we can control motherfuckers. And that's what they came up with. It's the Bible. Because if the guy wrote the Bible, I'm sure it would have been a revised copy by now. You know what I mean? Because a lot of shit has changed. And I've been looking for this revised copy, and I don't see it. I still see that same old copy that they had from then. And I'm not disrespecting anybody's religion. Please forgive me if it comes off like that. I'm just stating my opinion. I feel like we get crucified. I mean, the Bible's telling us all these people did this because they suffered this much. That's what makes them special people. I got shot 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know what I mean? And I got crucified to the media. You know what I mean? And I walked through with the thorns on, and I had shit thrown on me, and I had the beef at the top. I told that nigga I'll be back for you. You know what I mean? And trust me, this is not supposed to be going down. I'll be back. So I'm not saying I'm Jesus, but I'm saying that we go through that type of thing every day. We don't part the Red Sea, but we walk through the hood without getting shot. You know what I mean? We don't turn water to wine, but we turn motherfucking dope fiends and dope heads into productive citizens.
See, now Tupac is believing the character, right? So this is, you'll notice it's important that you protect your higher self, because one of the strategy that narcissists, psychopaths, and sociopaths intensely use is they have to traumatize you. They traumatize you so much that you want to get back, right? You become attached to it. I can't believe they did this to me. Or if they damage your body, or damage your health, or damage your finances, or damage your relationship, you want to get back. But in order for you to get back, you have to stay in your lower self. You have to stay in the bottom. You have to stay at the bottom. And if they keep at the bottom, then you got the duality. Everything you do in that bottom is going to end up in disaster. And unfortunately, he's sort of describing the darkness around him, right? And he's starting to understand that there's something after him. I mean, this is really serious. He's starting to understand it. In his language, in his lower self, you start to understand what's happening in the lower self. You see the psychomotor restlessness and the agitation, and then it's a total difference. But the presentation where he was more at his higher self, and even though he's the previous video where he's at his higher self inside a being in a deposition or something like that, highly stressed and things like that, he's still smiling, he's still empathetic. He has the full range of his cognitive capabilities. He's still expressing, he's able to empathize and look at things from the other person's perspective and things like that. He's doing this while being under fire, while he's in the courtroom, right, where he can get some serious losses. So at that time, he's representing his higher self, but he doesn't panic at all. He's cool, and he lays out all the answers in a way that's very elegant, meticulous, and well thought out. And then he started playing chess with the interviewer and started, instead of answering the question on this level, I'm gonna move to my lower self. I'm going to move back to my higher self, and I'm going to answer the question from that way. That way he can never get to me. I form a moat between him and I, and there's no connection, so he can never get back at me on that question. This represented he had access to all of his higher cognitive functionings. However, in this interview, he's not in danger, right? There's no danger here. He's with a lady. He's just doing an interview. But where's all the psychomotor agitation and restlessness coming from? Where is this coming from? When he thinks about what they did to him and how everybody around him watched and said nothing, he cannot accept. He cannot accept that that's just the way it is. That nobody amongst them that watched and said nothing, nobody did anything wrong, man. You know how often this happens? I mean, every day, bro. All the time, man. Why is yours any different? Your suffering ain't worse than mine, man. It happened to my cousin the other day. He out. What's wrong with you? Man, these sociopaths don't care nothing about that. And that's what he don't understand. This lower self has a very tunnel vision way of looking at the world, right? And it can't see anything outside of itself, right? That's why here you see no empathy, and then you see revenge. You mean Tupac, the character, is acting like Tupac. He's going to double down on the dysfunction. He's going to double down on the drama. And ultimately, it may shake him out the game, right? But while he's carrying his life out like this, his higher self is asleep, and this man is in a delusion. Tupac never existed at all. And this man is playing a role. I can dress up like Peter Pan, and I can live my life as Peter Pan. And if I did that, my life is going to change for the worse. Why? Because that's not reality. I'm not Peter Pan. I'm Dr. Reed. I need to live my life as Reed, not Peter Pan. He needed to live his life as an actor, not as Tupac. Let me look at this again so you can see the significance of what he's saying. Listen, he's not in danger.
And I had shit thrown on me, and I had the thief at the top. I told that nigga I'll be back for you. You know what I mean?
I told him I'll be back for you. You know what I mean? Look at him. Look at him. Look how he's stretched out. Look at him. Look at him. Today, for you guys, take your shirt, go sit, put on the same clothes and sit like that. And you're gonna say, hey, this is a character. I can't go around like this. Put on the same clothes, just to care. Take your shirt off, put your chain on, put your jacket on, the shoes, and sit on the couch like that. And then see how much of a fool you fill out, because that means that you can't make any money. Nothing's happening there. Look at him, traumatized.
And trust me, this is not supposed to be going down. I'll be back. So I'm not saying I'm Jesus, but I'm saying that
this is not supposed to be going down. This wasn't supposed to happen to me. I'm going to get you back. Revenge. I'm going to be my lower self in the future. That's not good. Someone should have said, man, you need to just drop this role, man, because you're not Tupac. You're an actor, man. Why don't you just chill off the Tupac role and then maybe be like, create another role as a poet or something like that, but just get out this role, because I think you're not doing well. You believe all of this stuff around you is real, and none of this stuff is real. You're just surrounded by a bunch of narcissists, psychopaths, and sociopaths who are just reflecting Tupac to you. So everybody around you is lying to you. Everybody. That's why later, what did Suge Knight say? F Tupac. Me and my man were in Pop Warner together. And Tupac was a transplant from New York, not from the West Coast. And he put West Side Till I Die on it, and he was really from New York. Hold on for a second. He got lost. He got lost in the game. Let me see here. Another thing I wanted to point out is this. Looking at Tupac, I grew up on the south side of Chicago, right? And just in poverty, right? I mean, it's tough. It's tough. So Tupac didn't say anything that me and the people around us didn't actually feel together. I mean, we were all in this. And anyone who grew up in Chicago around my age, we were all in this circumstance. Tupac didn't say anything that was new. He only put our generational's voice. He was the first one to voice to say the things that people have been saying for decades, right? He didn't even articulate them well. So even as an actor, as an artist, when he's tried to, give this sort of element in Tupac and everything, he didn't even formulate the theories well. They were just simple things that we talk about all the time, but they weren't deep at all. And his behavior wasn't gangster-like behaviors. He was flamboyant, right? I mean, he was everywhere. I don't know any gangsters, at least in Chicago, who were like that. I mean, they were hiding. The real ones were hiding. They weren't out front. They were in the back. They weren't yelling. They were quiet, right? They were hidden, right? They weren't the ones out there fighting and stomping people down. They were the ones hiding in the back, doing it by third parties, sending other people to do it, right? Throughout my entire life, growing up on the south side of Chicago and dealing with all these people, all the gangsters, the thug, and back then was the black gangsters, the folks, the vice lords, and all those things like that. The only people I ever saw beating people up like that was the very low functioning ones with cognitive issues that wanted to be a part of the gang. I had never seen anyone who was in any type of organized structure actually behave like that. It was always the wannabes. I think we used to call them Rudy Poots or something like that. And that was the behavior that Tupac was exhibiting. He was, this is what an actor thinks a gangster do, right? There are other things. There are no honor amongst thieves. Absolutely none. And all the gangsters know that. All of them know that. And Tupac was openly professing loyalty among thieves, among the people in this area where you're carrying guns and you're doing gangs and all that. He believed, and he's broadcasting, there's loyalty amongst these people, and there's no loyalty amongst those people. This is the very bottom. It's the fight is do or die. It's survival of the fittest. There's no cooperativity of here. Your man stabs you in your back. Any man who went to prison, I never seen his girlfriend save his money and invest it and give it back. Before she left, before he got locked up, she was already hooking up with someone else. I've never seen those things, right? And then at the time when Tupac was choosing some of his entire, Gangsta Party. Gangsta Party. Okay, Snoop Dogg. Okay, let's say Gangsta Party. I don't want to play or anything like that. But so Tupac was an actor. And I believe when he began developing his attire as the gangster, I think he started getting sloppy, right? Because I believe in this video and some of the others, when they started to engage with the Bishop Magic Wand, I think as artists, they were influenced by him. So their attire changed over to like pimping attire. And I think that's why, Tupac, that's why Snoop Dogg started to wear the pimping stuff and things like that. And so, when I saw this, I said, well, hold on for a second. There's something going wrong here. So let me just show you Bishop. Okay, Bishop Magic Wand. And so I think he became Snoop's mentor and spiritual advisor, right? And I believe he influenced Snoop, which then influenced Tupac, and then Tupac started wearing these suits and things like that that didn't match his muscular body. So I'm gonna try to show. Let me see if I can find some of Tupac's. Let me see. Oh, let me see if I can images.
Now let me show you what we do.
If I can find an image, that may be a good idea. I'm gonna show you that some of the clothes that he was wearing, to me, look like they were clothes that a pimp would wear. And hold up, pimps and gangsters are not the same. These are two different ecosystems, and the two don't match. There are huge differences between the two. Let me try to see Tupac Gangsta. Okay, Tupac Gangsta Party. Okay, yeah. So now I think this is what I'm talking about here. Now, look. So here, this sort of reminds me of that Chicago pimping game type style. And Bitch Magic Wand is a different generation, and then this is that influence going on here, and this sort of looks at sort of like this is not as extreme, but here I think the entire so what are you? Are you gangsters or are you pimps and stuff like that? So I think as an artist and everything, this is some bad wardrobe advice, all right? Because it's saying, hey, you're changing your message. And if you're changing your message, that means that you must have had some major shifts in your internal operations to get something that's a slip up as significant as this. Then let me tell you why this is significant. Okay. Gangsters are in the shadow. Pimps are flashy. They're out front. Right? They're two different orientations. All right. Look at these clothes, man. So look at the clothes, flashy. You want attention. Gangsters don't want attention, right? Now, when we typically see gangsters, we see them in the movies, right? And so that's how Tupac learned how gangsters behave, from the movies. So when you look at the video of Tupac in real life, he's behaving as if he's in the movies. He's behaving as if there's no consequences for his behavior, right? And gangsters don't do that. Why? Because they understand what karma is. They understand you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Every gangster I knew, or every gangster that I've counseled or was a patient or something like that, understood this concept of the Grim Reaper. And people who were in that lifestyle, they began to change when the people around them start to die. And they sort of get the sense that, oh man, I'm next because me and him was together when we did that other deal. I'm next. That ego starts to pound down on them, and they start to fade away into the background, right? Because they're aware of the risk, right? They don't go anywhere, right? They're not out front. They're not yelling at people. They always go places where they're sitting in the back with their back turned because they know how it's going to go down, right? So, but the pimps are flashy. Look, they have the flashy clothes. Look at the cars these guys. Look at the cars these guys were in. Yeah. You know, straight up billboard mode. And gangsters don't do that, right? The gangsters know that the people around them will tell on them. The gangsters know when you start showing people things, you don't show people your money, you don't show people things like that. But that's all the pimp does. You don't flash those things, right? So the attire of the gangster is different than the attire of the pimp. They don't wear the same type of clothes. They don't serve the same functions. And it's a completely different culture. The relationship that the gangster has with the world is one of opposition, meaning the gangster actually pays for every transaction. Even with all the women, the gangster is paying for the houses, the clothes, the cars, and all that. The gangster is paying out, right? Whereas the pimps, they're receiving all the money. The women are paying them, and everybody's paying them, right? The gangsters out there putting in work, and the people are working for them. These are two different cultures. And so this is what I'm saying, that he, towards the end of his life, particularly when he started hanging around, went on the West Coast and started having these other influence, he lost his artistry. His symbolism began to fade. He believed in the character, and his messages were all mixed up, started getting sloppy, started doing things that gangsters don't do. Now, unfortunately, when he passed away, everybody around him capitalized on it, right? Everybody made the adjustments, right? The East Coast, West Coast, everybody from the East Coast moved to the West Coast, and the whole beef was over, right? So, guys, beefs only last like 6 years, right? And Tupac's dead forever, right? He should have just set the whole thing out, right? He should have went into just being a straight poet or something like that, or trying to be a musician or something like that, a jazz musician or something like that. He could have did very well around those people, right, in the entertainment industry. What else did I want to mention about this? I'm at the 56-minute mark. So I think that's it. That's it for now. So, sir, I hope I answered your question. Let me go. For the gentleman who had the question, didn't appreciate my my interpretation of Tupac. I wasn't putting him down. I was just saying that he was just like me, and just like many of us. We don't understand how cool the people around us really are. And when you have that empathy, basically, you're the only one. You're surrounded by darkness. And they tell you everything you want to hear. They mimic you, they do all this, they play the dance and everything. Look, if you believe all that, you're a fool. Right? Stay away from your lower selves. Until then, weed out. Take care, guys.